Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. As said by Cassidy, my name is Sarah. Actually, my name is Sara, but you take what you get. I am a developer advocate slash full stack developer slash I'm just a developer at a startup, so I do pretty much everything. I am from Portugal. We are actually losing to Georgia right now in the Euro. The country, not the state. And I'm very confused what is happening today. I currently live in London, and I used to live in Berlin for 5 years. The reason I'm telling you this is because I have an unhealthy hatred for the Berlin airport. So if you also have that, please come talk to me. I've done an entire talk on how that airport is so bad. It may be related to why I moved out. Okay, so all of this to tell you, completely unrelated thing. So I've been a developer for about 10 years. I'm actually over 30. I now have to call my own doctors. It's terrifying. It doesn't get better. But, so I've been coding since I'm 18, 17, I don't know. Too many years. And I'm telling you this because I want you to understand where I'm coming from, and I also want you to understand that even after 10 years, code is hard, and all code is cursed. There's absolutely no code that you will ever write that will not be cursed. And I will die on this hill of all code is bad. All my code is bad, at least. Maybe I'm just a bad programmer. Wow, what a thought. Okay, so this talk is mostly focused on people who have done some coding, but not a lot. So if you're a seasoned engineer, I hope you still enjoy the talk, but I didn't write it for you, and I'm sorry. But yeah. So I'm gonna talk about why creating Figma plugins isn't scary, and how we can make a very simple plugin in a matter of minutes. 17 minutes to be more precise. We need Blender. People have used Blender. Yes. Array modifier. Does anyone know what that is on Blender? Yes, I know, I have a video, don't worry. Okay, so this is the array modifier in Blender. It basically, so that's one cube, and I can make 1,000 cubes without me making the 1,000 cubes, and it separates them and stuff. Really cool. We're gonna make this in Figma because it was the only thing I could think of, I'm sorry. Okay, it's also useful, I think. Okay, so let's go, let's do this. There is a thing here that goes against me, that's cool. Okay, so, one thing that you should know is you need the desktop app of Figma to be able to do plugins. Another thing you should know is that my Figma updated to the new UI version this morning. So, you get to see all of its glory. Isn't this a great day? Okay, so we're gonna be, first of all, I'm gonna teach you how to import a plugin from a manifest into Figma. So if I come over here, new UI. I didn't do any of it, I don't work at Figma, but it looks good. Okay, so if I come here and I do plugins, development, import plugin from manifest. So a manifest is a JSON file. Everything in the internet is at the core a JSON file. I love JSON. And it's basically, so what it tells Figma is what is the name of your plugin, which version of the API are you using, and what code should I run for this plugin? That's about it, right? Most starters that you'll download on the internet already have this, so I'm not very concerned. Cool, so and then it will show you all the plugins that you have right now, and this is also new, looks good. And this is what I have, right? So the Blender array modifier, and I am gonna be able to pass how many rectangles, actually not rectangles, how many things I wanted to copy, how much farther apart are they in the X and the Y. There's no Z yet. Maybe next year at config, who knows? But yeah, this is what I'm making. And there are two different parts that are very important for you to understand. This sounded very teachy moment, very important. Very important for you to understand that this part is just HTML, right? This is like making a website. You can put an entire website in here, in this little frame. You shouldn't, but I'm not gonna stop you. Figma's not gonna stop you. No one's gonna stop, please do it. Your whole checkout experience is in a Figma plugin. Optimizations. But this is just HTML. In my case, I'm using a front-end framework called Vue. I think Vue is nice. And I think Vue is it's easier to understand. I usually use React, but for this case, I decided to use Vue. And this is just HTML. So what this does is it will send signals to the backend, which is the actual Figma part, to make the things, like create a rectangle, duplicate something, do the thing in general. So right now, it doesn't really do anything. If I open the show hide console, I do a command plus. Oh, I already done the command plus. Nice. And I click create. All that it does is console to log me that I clicked the button. Cool. So I have two files in here, right? I have this UI.view, which is literally what you just saw. And so you can see that I have a header that has a bunch of inputs and a button that says create and a button that says cancel. And the create button merely consoles.logs. And I have a count. Those are references that are updated when I change it. So if you want to learn some Vue, Vue is great. I recommend Vue if you're starting with front-end development and frameworks. Yeah, so what do we want to do? We want to actually tell Figma and our backend that we have clicked the button, that we are ready to do something, right? And how do we do that? Well, we do something called window.postMessage, and that basically means that, so basically this UI and this backend function in different spaces. They're like in different rooms, and they have to yell at each other. They can't just like do a normal conversation. Yeah, basically like everyone talks in Portugal. There we go, no one had laughed for a while, and I was feeling vulnerable up here. So how do we do this? Exactly the same as we did in the bottom. So that one is the default one that we do not need to do anything else. It will close the plugin. That's all it does. Okay, so let's create a new one. So I'm going to say window.parent.postMessage. And in here, we can pass our plugin message. Like, what do we want to tell the plugin? No. No. I'm nervous. It's because Portugal is losing to Georgia. Yeah. And what do I want to do? I want to tell it, like, I want to tell it anything. Like, I want to say hello world. Let's say hello, and then world, because I'm very basic. Cool. So how do I read this from actual Figma? Well, that's where this code.ts comes in. This can be a JavaScript file. I don't use any of the TypeScript features, except the fact that when I start typing, it tells me the next thing that I need to type. That's the only part of it I use. I literally disabled every other TypeScript feature. Okay, so what do we do here? We tell Figma, okay, show me this UI. This is my I can't type plugin. Figma, show me this UI. I pass it the HTML. I tell it the width and height. And very important, I think, is, I actually didn't know about this, is that you can pass theme colors true. And what this does is that it gives you access in your CSS to all of the colors that Figma uses for variables. So this plugin, for example, has been styled using the variables that Figma provides. Like if I open my CSS, these are all, no, not these, but like this is all variables that come from actual Figma. So it works in dark and light mode. Really cool, I'm a dark mode person. You probably already noticed that because everything in my computer is in dark mode. Cool, so what do we do now? Let's do what everyone does when they're coding, right? We're consoling.log this message. There we go. So on UI.onMessage, we're basically just gonna console log, see what happens. So if I, also plugins auto reload, which is really nice. So if I click create now, I have an error. Interesting thing, this exact same error showed up in my test presentation 2 days ago. I have to pass that means pass it to everyone. That's cool. Okay, create. Cool, so I get exactly what I wanted. Thank you. Coding, am I right? Beautiful thing. Yeah, I don't know that one. That was good, thank you everyone. Hello world, cool. Not exactly what we want, but we're getting there. Let's tell it, let's pass in our, the things we actually want to pass it. So I come in here to the UI.view. Instead of passing hello world, I'm going to give it a count. So I'm going to say count. And one thing, if you're using Vue, if you want to get the value of a reference, you have to do the name plus that value. Very important. If you don't do it, literally everything breaks. And I'm not talking about your code. I'm talking about your life. It's that fragile. And then spacing x equals spacing x dot value, and spacing y equals spacing y dot value. Okay, beautiful. I could console log it, but we've done this before. So what do we want to do right now? For the first test, I want to see for how much of a count, no, for English. For the count that I pass, I want to create that amount of rectangles. Because what I've learned after making this talk is that Figma that creates rectangle is the console log of Figma plugins. Okay, so I can do, let's first of all do a for each on the numbers that we got. So we got 5, and what we want to do is create a for where in each iteration we up 1 until we reach 5. So how do we do that? Assuming you have VS Code, you type 4, right? And then you click on this one, and you click enter, right? Coding, right? Thank you. So and instead of array.length, let's put message.count, which is the name that we passed it. And this should run 5 times. Okay, so now each one of these 5 times, I want to say Figma that create rectangle. No, wait, where's the rectangle? Wow. There we go. Not React. No, we're using Vue, I told you. Okay, cool. So if I do this, and now I do a little cheeky thing of Command Option P, this runs the previous plugin, and I click Create, will you look at that? We have a couple of rectangles. They're on top of each other, but they're all here. All 5 of them. Thank you. Someone started clapping. Yes. I'm going to do a water break. Oh, God damn it, the clapping stopped. Okay. Thank you. It's boxed. Okay, cool. That's cool. I completely lost track of what I was doing. So we got the rectangles, not really what we want. What we want to do is actually get the selection that the user has and then copy it, right? Clone it to a bunch of other places. How do we do that? Okay, so I can call const selection. I can say, not call. Do not call it const. That doesn't do anything. Figma, that current page. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I have a mechanical keyboard. I'm one of those people. So it's like me typing on this. I'm like, it's so flimsy. Thank you. Someone said yeah. That selection, right? So this will give me the selection of what the user has selected. So why, one thing that you should know about this, not why, but one thing that you should know about this is that this, if you've used Figma at all, like this can be one object or it can be an array of objects. So I can have 2 objects selected. So if I do a little cheeky console.log, okay, that one was on Google. That one was on VS Code. That was not my fault. It's like when I lose at any video game. Okay, so right now we got an array of 1 vector node, but if I select 2, then I can also get an array of 2, 1 vector node and 1 rectangle node, right? So we actually need to go through each of the selection that the user has made, and for that we can use a for each. So what can I do instead is do a for each, and you look for each in here, right? And then you click enter, and he writes everything for you. It's beautiful. This is the best thing you'll learn out of this talk. Use VS Code. Okay, so selection that for each will then give me each element that the user has clicked. Okay, cool. So how do I actually put this element on the page? Okay, so we can call for each of these. I can say Figma, that current page, current page, that append child. And when you say append child and you pass it the element, it will basically like add a new element. But that's not going to work. And I learned this the hard way. So the thing is, these elements, there's only 1 of them, and you're not copying them. So in order to move them somewhere else and to like clone them, you actually have to create a clone of them. I just said clone 2 times. I hope that made sense. You have to create a clone of this element to be able to like do whatever you want to it. So I'm going to say const cloned el equals element that clone. Everything you think how you do it is exactly how you do it in this like API. It's great. So you just append child of this clone DL. This should work theoretically, right? Let me delete this. Oh, all of them actually. Just click. There's so many of them. There we go. See, there's so many because my code worked. That created a rectangle. Command, did I save? Did, yes, okay. Let's come over here and, oh, okay, you know what? That's fair. So you know why you created a rectangle, y'all? Because I told it to. So now there is a bunch of these. There's some of these, as you can see. So for each, I am basically telling it like, okay, give me more. I want more of them. There we go. But as you can see, it didn't work properly. And you know why that didn't work properly? Because I have to clone it in here and not in there. Because I have to clone it every time I create it. So that's why. This was all prepared to make you like me more, because I'm approachable. It wasn't, I failed. So now we have 5. 5, yes. Yes. Thank you. And now I have to delete them, so give me a second. There we go. Okay, so that's cool. We've copied it, but they all are in the same place, which is not cool, not what we want. So we pass it a spacing X and we pass it a spacing Y. So let's actually use, the spacings that we pass it. So the first thing we want to do is check if the user has passed the spacing. So if the message has a you know what? Yes, we're doing this now. Spacing X. So if it has this, what we want to do is move it. So we want to append to its X value, we want to append a bunch of stuff. So, and this will all make sense when I type it, and it will, I promise. And I want to do a clone DL that X plus equals, which will append instead of just setting it. And what I want to do in it is say, okay, so I want to do a plus of the node, the width of each of them, plus the spacing, and I want to time it times the, imagine if it's the fourth one, the fourth element, I want to do times 4 so that it's math. Thank you. I failed math in high school. Okay, cool. Twice in the same year. I'm not very smart. Oh, thank you. I'm not school smart, though. So clone DL. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so clone DL, that plus width plus the message that's spacing X. And to that, we want to say, okay, so times it, the I. But the issue is the I starts at 0. If you multiply anything by 0, it disappears. So we want to add 1 to it. And that, I'm pretty sure it will work. And by I mean index. I hope this makes sense. It took me a while to figure out how to, do the math for this. Okay, cool. So if I click create now, yes, there we go. Thank you, thank you. So if we want to do the Y, I feel like everyone can, spacing Y, and then, I do the height instead, and then I come, and I do the Y, and it's the same thing. And then if I come in here and I actually add some spacing on the Y, it hasn't worked yet. No, it's not going to work, is it? Okay, that Y, yes. See? Fixed it. Oh my God. Okay, let me just start the plugin just in case. So let me do a 5 and create, and there we go. It also does it on the Y. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so the last thing that I want to show you is that I actually want so right now when I create it, you've noticed that I have to Command Z to go back because I have to select them all. What if they were just, selected when you create them? That would be so helpful. Okay, so when I start this, what I want to do is basically say okay, for each element I create, I want to put them in an array and then add them to the selection. Okay, cool. How do we do that? We first create an empty array. So I'm going to say const node equals an empty array. Nodes. It's an empty array. And then for each of them, so for each one that I create, I want to add that one to the array. So I want to say, okay, so nodes that push, and I want to push this cloned element to do it. And then we should have an array that basically has all of the nodes that were created. So basically at the end of it, so after I append the child, after I've done everything, before I close the plugin, I want to say, okay, cool, so Figma, that current page, that selection, yes, equals nodes. And it should work technically, right? Oh, there's still a bunch of them here. So if I do command, what was it? Oh, there we go. And I do this, they're selected. So now I can delete them. And that makes my life so much easier. Okay, cool. You can also like zoom into them, so like if they're out of view, so you can do that with Figma. I'm out of time, but now I feel like I started, so I have to do it. That current page, that scroll, no, it's Figma, that viewport. Yeah, these are my cheats. I'm not texting my girlfriend, that would be weird. That scroll, okay, notes. See, that was really fast. Thank you. So I'm gonna put it like this, and that, create, boom. Okay, cool. And that's it, right? So this was 29 lines of code, and it's not that scary, right? There is a bunch of documentation for it, and it will help you through it. It will not make it as painful. And think about it, you at least don't have to do it on a stage in front of like so many people. So it could be worse. Okay, cool. So one of the main issue that I had while building this was that configuration files and bundlers for web applications are a mess. It took me so long just staring at a configuration file. So after I did this, I made a small website that you can download a starter, which has a lot of the, about the basic stuff. So you can put in the name of your plugin, and if you want React, Vue, or nothing at all, and you will download you a zip file, basically with the bare bones of a plugin, that will just create a rectangle. Because that was my biggest issue. So you can find it at figma.env.dev, which is a domain where I host everything for some reason. I chose that one. And thank you so much. If you want to see the code, you can find it there at my name. And that's it. Thank you. Have a great day.